All right, so these exercises, they want us to draw the task diagram ourselves, okay? So here's a list of tasks right here, tasks from A to G, and here's all the prerequisites, okay? So we always start with start. There's our start. The first task we see that has no prerequisite, see the no prerequisite right there, is task A. So I usually put a little dot. You don't have to put a dot, but you could if you want. All right, that's our starting point, task A. Now, our next, so we did task A. Our next two tasks, task B and task C, both have A as their prerequisites. So that means you cannot get to B unless you've gone through A first. Right? And the same thing goes for C. You cannot get to C unless you've gone through A first. So these arrows indicate that A is the prerequisite for each task, for both B and for C. Okay? So now we have all three of those done. Then we have task D. D has a prerequisite of B, which means we're going to draw an arrow from B to D. Okay? Then the next one actually has two prerequisites. Task E has prerequisites of B and C. So that means that there's an arrow from B to E. There's also an arrow from C to E, because both of those tasks are prerequisites to E. That means they both come before E, which means there's arrows from both of them into E. Almost done now. Task F has a prerequisite of C, so that means there's an arrow from C to F. And then finally, task G. Task G is the final task. You have prerequisites D, E, and F. So here's D, here's E, and here's F, all going into task G. And then after that, we are done. We draw one more little arrow and put finish. Now, the only other thing we have to do is label this. See these times? See all the times column? We have to label those on our task diagram. So start has no time to it. So you put a little 0 over the arrow. Task A has a time of 5. So that means we're going to put fives on the arrows going out of A. That means it takes 5 units of time to complete task A. So we're going to label those arrows with 5s. Task B has a time of 6. So any arrow coming out of task B, you label with 6. Task C and D are both 4. So any arrows coming out of C or out of D, you put a 4. Task E takes 8 units of time, so task E's arrow will get an 8. Task F is 4, so task F's arrow will get a 4. And then finally, task G is a 10, so the final arrow is 10. And that's how you do